Hello. This afternoon we'd like to talk about person-centered care. And boy, all the buildings are requiring now, when the surveyors come through, they want to see person-centered care. And sometimes it's fallen to the activity director to kind of figure out, well, what is their person-centered care? What's important to them? How do I figure this out? And it's really hard for us to do that if we're not doing good assessments. So I can empathize with you right now. We don't have a whole lot of time to get in there, get those assessments done, or sometimes they are busy with their medical requirements and it takes us a little while to get in there. But when you get in there, what I want to encourage you to do is, instead of just going down your activity assessment, because that's where we're going to get most of our answers from, by doing that activity assessment, because we're actually asking, what do you like to do? And they will say, well, I don't want to do anything right now because I'm just here to get better. And so we get a little resistance, but the important thing for us to remember, plow through that resistance, because we really do have a lot to offer them. They are there to get better. And that's what nursing is all about, how they're going to get better or how they're going to improve. But what we are about is why. Why do they want to get better? Why should they improve? We need to reinstitute in their lives that this is not the way it's always going to be. And even though I have some new deficits, I can learn to do some things, the same things that I have done before. I'm going to still do them. I'm just going to do them differently because my body is different now. And that's a little hard for people to accept at first, but it's important that we get them through that. And one of the ways that we can do that is when we do our activity assessment. And before we talk about the activity assessment, there's a very specific way a new way that I want you to really focus on to do that activity assessment. But first, I'd like to talk a little bit about what can this activity department really do, and how can we figure out what person-centered care is, because we hear about it all the time. It's got to be person-centered care. It should be cultural diverse, blah, blah, blah. But what does that mean? Person-centered care actually means something different to every person because it's all individualized. And one of the other things, before we start talking in depth about that, I want you to know as activity people that an activity program is just not about socialization. That's an important part, but it's just not about socialization. There are two major things that you need to know about people if they're going to be happy or if they're going to improve their life. First, they do need something to do. Usually, because we're social beings, they want to do something with somebody else. Not all the time. Sometimes we want to be alone. But most of the time, or part of the time, we need to be around people, to do things socially with people, or to have interaction with people, because that interaction gives us a feedback, the perception of ourselves. And sometimes it's a perception that we want to change, and sometimes it's a perception, oh, I didn't know I was this good and this wonderful. Gee, they really enjoyed being with me, or gee, I really like being with them. And then the second thing is, it's very important not only to do something and do something with somebody else, but the third thing is to do something for somebody else. Don't always be so self-centered that you forget how to be kind and polite, or you get anxious because you think you need something right away. It's very important is to come out of ourselves, realize what our self-value is and our self-esteem is. And sometimes doing something for somebody else is the greatest way that makes us feel good about ourselves. So doing something for somebody else is important. It gives us our self-value, our self-worth. It gives meaning to our life. And then finally, in order to really be happy, sometimes you just got to do something new. Have something fun to look forward to. Something different to do, to break the monotony. We all need a certain amount of routine and security in what we do and comfort level. But every once in a while, we get bored with that routine and we need something new to do. And so that's really important. Those are things that activity programs can bring to people. They can provide something to do. They can provide somebody to do it with. They can provide things that you can do for other people to make you feel better about yourself and about other people. and then something fun to do in the future. So what I'd like to talk about for just a few minutes is how do we do that? How do you provide those things that people are going to be really interested in doing? And one of the ways that we want to be aware of is that the activity department just is not about providing cookies and getting people together and chatting. When we have people in our groups doing different things with us, we want to try to make them as person-centered as possible. We'll talk about how we're going to get there in a minute. But some of the things that they'll want to do or they'll want to learn is they'll want to learn new skills. And if they've had a major healthcare change, they aren't going to be able to do the cooking project or the woodworking project that they did before in the same way. They're going to have some adaptive equipment. And I encourage you to look at our adaptive equipment tapes to figure some of those things out. Also, by doing things with just doing something, it improves our self-worth. When we start to do it really well, it improves also our confidence. It also, activities should be doing things that promote a healthy lifestyle. So instead of always cooking those sweet things, hey, let's cook with diabetic stuff so that you can see it tastes just as good and it's going to be better for me. Again, reasons to live, are reasons to give my life meaning, are reasons to do things better. We can, by having things to do, people start to know what they're going to do and when they're going to do it. That reduces confusion. One of the things that people say to me a lot when they first retire is, gee, I really don't know what day it is. When I was at work, I was going to work Monday through Friday and I knew when the weekend was. So sometimes they lose concept because they don't have enough important things to do or things that continue the value of their life or the organization of their life. So that's important. So we can reduce the confusion. We can reduce depression. It's a known fact that when somebody has a change in their healthcare status, that within 48 hours, if they don't start to have some positive thought patterns about what they can do or how they can change or how they're going to accept this new situation, they will go into depression. And that's why doing activities and teaching people how to do things differently or reminding people, gee, this was really important to you at one time, you can still do it and you can still enjoy doing it. Those things are all important. So we want to help with personal acceptance of limitations, because once they accept, okay, I'm not going to be able to do it the way I did it before, but you know what? With that adaptive equipment that they showed me, I now can cut my own apple because I have this special cutting board and it's secure and I can cut my own apples. Not only can I cut my own apples, I can cut apples for somebody else, or I can peel an orange for somebody else besides myself. That makes us valuable human beings. It gives us that self-worth that we need to reinforce why we're here. And most of the time, yeah, we're here to take care of ourselves and get our needs met. Yes, that's true. But we're also here to be kind to each other. And when we're kind to each other, that's the best gift we can give to somebody else and also to ourselves. So I just want to share a few of those things with you that we can do in the activity program. And one of them is remotivation. One is let's just recap this. It's socialization. It's learning new skills. It's having self-worth. It's having a healthy lifestyle. It's reducing all the confusion in our life. It's improving good personal habits. It's acceptance of our personal limitations. Now, it doesn't matter whether you have a deficit or not. We all have personal limitations. Sometimes we can break through them. Sometimes we can't. Sometimes we have to work very hard to break through them. But we're all here to make our lives better, to make other people's lives better. So having known that, the way that we're going to get to find out what a person's person-centered care is by doing a good activity assessment. Now, I'm going to be real honest with you, and I will tell you, and many of you will nod your head in agreement, that the activity assessments that are on the forms that we have to fill out are basically a checklist. And so what I want to teach you in the next few minutes is how not to make it just a checklist. Make it more than a checklist. Make it a colorful adaptation of what is important to this person and why is it important to this person. And the only way that we can do that is to ask secondary and third detective questions. So if you were to turn to one of the types of activity assessments that we have, the typical questions, I will put up a graphic of this in a few minutes, but one of the particular things that they'll ask at the top is, can they see, can they hear, can they do gross motor skill, are they ambulatory? All those are very important things because they tell us what the person can do. They tell us how the body is functioning, and we need to know how the body is functioning so that we can work with this person, and that we don't do wrong things like expect them to be able to see when they don't have their glasses, or expect them to be able to hear if they don't have their hearing aids in, or if they have a deficit on one side of their vision. We don't want to throw the ball at them from that side because they won't see it coming. So we need to know how their body is working so we can make them as successful as possible. So it's very important that you ask a lot of questions and ask them what their vision is, or give them a little vision check and say, can you see my finger? When I'm moving my finger, can you see it over here or just in front? Can you see it from this side? Because we want to figure out where their vision is. The same thing when we're talking to somebody. We want to be able to figure out which is their good hearing side. We want to talk clearly to them. And if they do have a hearing deficit, let's make sure that their hearing aids are in so that they can hear us. It would be awful not to be able to hear what people are saying and then hear people laugh and then they start to think, oh gee, they're laughing at me because I can't do this. That's the worst thing we can do. Find out what their body can do, accept those limitations and start to work with those limitations or improve those limitations. The other thing that we want to do is we want to have a good, quick history about what their life was like. So I very often like to ask them, what was your favorite job? People have lots of jobs in the course of their lifetimes, but I ask, what was your favorite job? Why did you like doing that job? Were you ever in the military? Did you like the military? Do you have a family? Are your family very active? Are they going to come to visit? Would you like to have visitors when your family isn't available? These are all important questions. The next thing we want to do is we want to find out, well, what is their social interest? Find out, well, what have you done in the past that you really enjoy? Do you enjoy being around people, or do you prefer to be alone? Most of the people that I've talked to, they're either saying, I really want to be alone and I don't want to be bothered with all this stuff. Okay, so I'll accept that, but I'll say, you might enjoy this. Break up the monotony of being in your room. Why don't you try this? I'll come down and invite you. You don't have to stay. But find out what they might want to come to. If they like music, what kind of music do they like? Our list that on the activity assessment tells us to ask all these questions, but it is just a check-off list, and it doesn't do us any good to find out what is person-centered, what is important to them. So if they say they like music, find out what kind. If I give somebody jazz music when they want to listen to classical or country, are they going to listen to that music? No. I really need to do some detective work and figure out what they really like. Same with movies. Same with what they want to read. And also, as I'm finding out things that they want to do, ask what equipment they need to be able to do it. If you are reading and you want to read, do you need large print or can you read the small print? Or do you get too tired when you read? Do you need somebody to read to you? Do you need to have somebody to read with you so you can enjoy the book better or share thoughts on the book? So it becomes a matter, what do they need to do? They need a book stand to hold the book up? Do they have trouble pushing the pages across? Can I give them an eraser to push the page across so that they can read the book independently? Or do they want to be in a group and read the book or talk about the book or have somebody read to them? All different ways, whether it's music, whether it's art, whether it's craft. Figure out what they like, but ask that secondary question. What is going to really make you read this book? What is going to really make you do this project? If I bring you a project on knitting, is that something you want to do? No, I don't want to do knitting. Don't give me that knitting stuff. I want to paint something. I want to build something. Find out what they want to do and find out what tools that they do they need to do it. How do we need to adapt it so they'll be successful and independent at it, or as independent as they can be. So those are some of the things that you want to do. I also want you to ask, what do they want to watch on television? And the worst thing that we can do to our residents is leave them in their room and not turn TV on for them or not turn on their music channel. So we want to make sure when we're doing our activity assessment that we ask, what do you like to watch on TV? Do you like to watch all the political news? Are you a Fox News fan or a CNN fan? Are you a sports fan? Do you like basketball or do you like baseball? Because if it's not the sport that they want to watch or it's not the thing that they want to listen to, they're not going to do it. So we have to ask these secondary detective questions and figure out what they really want. So that checklist that we have, okay, it cues us for what to say, but ask the secondary question and find out what is really important to them. Now here's an example of what is important to somebody. I had two guys that really like sports. And one guy said to me, well, you know, I just want to watch my own sports and I don't want anybody around because that's the way I want to do it. That's important to me. I want to know what my games are on, and if I miss them, I want to be able to tape them so I can watch them later by myself. Okay, that's fine. That's what that gentleman wanted. Another guy said, well, you know, I really would like to watch the Beavers and the Ducks game and the college games. And you know what I really want most of all? I like to have chocolate ice cream with it. Could I have chocolate ice cream when I'm watching the game? And then after asking him a little bit more questions, I said, well, what truly makes you happy? And I said, well, my grandkids make me happy. That's what makes me happy. And then I said, well, wouldn't it be nice if you had your grandkids come in while the game was on and we gave everybody chocolate ice cream? Yeah, that's what I really want. That's person-centered care. But I never would have gotten there if I hadn't asked the secondary detective questions to find out what really made this person happy, what really was important to this person. Being around his grandkids, having chocolate ice cream, watching college games, that's what was important to him. And he wanted to share it with somebody. He said, I didn't have to share it with somebody all the time. I know they can't always come, but it's a real treat when they do come. So yeah, I can watch it by it in my room. I don't really want to go down. And then another person might say, I want to be with other people and watch the game because I want to hear everybody yell and shout at the same thing I'm yelling and shouting at. So everybody is different, but we'll never know this unless we ask those questions. Now, as the activity director, how are we going to communicate this? We've got to communicate it to the staff. So you can't just make a checklist. You're going to have to go around and make a little, what I would consider a little prologue about this person. Tell them what they like, tell them how they like their music, tell them, find out what TV shows they want to watch, and then we're going to make a list and make an activity box for them and put it in the room. And one of the things that we'll put in that activity box is we're going to have a list of the TV channels, and we're going to highlight which ones are important. And then we'll flip it over, and on the other side we're going to have music channels. We're going to highlight the ones that are important to them. And then we're going to have an in-service, and we're going to ask our aides to say, when you leave that room, don't just leave them unless they request to go to sleep. I want it quiet and I want to go to sleep. Don't just leave them there sitting wondering what's going to happen next, or get on that call light to call again. Set them up with something that they want. Something to use their time valuably, something that's going to give meaning to their life, something they're going to enjoy doing. So in that little activity box, we're going to have that list so that if a resident is setting somebody up, they can go to that box, or they can pull that box out of the drawer and say, hey, I see on here that you like to watch this, this, and this. Guess what? Jeopardy comes on in 5 minutes. Can I turn it on for you? That's person-centered care. Can I start this music for you? I know you look kind of tired, but I know that you like to go to sleep to classical music. It says so here in my little box, in your box. So now I'll turn on classical music. Now, if it's a Sousa march and they don't want to listen to that, then we're not going to leave it on. We'll turn it to something else. or we'll offer something else, or we'll just turn down the lights low so that they can rest. That would be appropriate to do because that would be what they would want. We don't want to leave on the wrong kind of music for them. But all these things provide us, when we have a narrative, a short little narrative of what they want, and we have that in the activity box, then people will know, hey, they like it when their grandkids come to visit. Hey, they were raised on a farm. They like it when animals come to visit. Actually, they have a pig that wants to come to visit. Their pig from the farm. We could arrange for that to happen, for the pig to come to visit in their room. That's person-centered. I won't say person-centered care, but yeah, the animals in a person's life are important to them. So figure out, can that animal come and visit? And if not, would they like to have pet therapy come to their room? Or would they like to go down to the dining room when the pet therapy person is here? And I have several pet therapy people that bring all different kinds of things. Sometimes they brought in iguanas, they brought in cats, they brought in dogs, they brought in rabbits, they brought in gerbils. It's just a matter of setting up your programs. But most of all, first of all, you got to figure out, what do these people want? And then write that narrative so it's in their record. So when a nurse goes in and says, oh, let's look at progress notes from activities. What have they been doing? Or, gee, here's a nice narrative, the activity assessment of what they might like to do. And here's a nice narrative of what this person is like, where they lived, what's important to them. Do they want to go to church? What are their values? Do they want to be around people? Do they not want to be around people? All these things are important for us to figure out, and then we need to document it. Just in a short paragraph. I'm not asking you to write a novel. Just a short paragraph. You want to make sure that you covered what their family life is like, whether they're going to have visitors or not, whether they want visitors, whether they have religious interests and what those religious interests are. So whether they're Muslim, we can provide prayer rug for them and show them where East is in the building or in their room where they can pray 5 times a day. We want to get them a copy of the Quran if they want it. We want to get them a copy of, if they're Christian and they're Baptist or Lutheran, we want to get them Bibles. We have talking books on Bibles. We can get Bibles from the Gideons. Whatever their preference is. And if they're Buddhist or Hindu or American Indian, provide those things. Be able to get your resources set up so that you have these things in your closet so you can pass them out to people. We want to know what they want on television. We want to know who they want to have come visit, who they don't want to have come visit. We want to know about their jobs so we can talk about their careers with them. That's a very important part of most people's lives. We spend a good 40% to 50, 60% of our lives in the working world. We want to know that that had value. We want to be able to give them an opportunity to share what it was like when they were nurses, what it was like when they were the activity director, what it was like when they were engineers. And many people are going to have stuff on their computer that they want to do, and we want to make sure that they have access to that and access to the Wi-Fi. Religious preferences, I've mentioned whether they want groups. Ask them what their values are. Is this important to you? Is it important for you to go out and do things with other people? Do you want to just do things for yourself or just things for your family? Is it important that you be around people from your church? Would you like to invite your church group to have their Bible study in our building? I had one lady who was taking classes, and she was so upset. I said, why are you so anxious, Ellen? Why are you so anxious? Well, I started this class at Lewis and Clark College, and it's collaborative, and we meet every Thursday, and now I'm going to be missing the next 6 ones from this broken hip, and now I won't be able to finish the class. I said, you know what? You feel strong enough to do the reading and stuff in your room? Let's get your textbooks in here. And if you feel strong enough to sit up in bed, why can't you have your group come to your room, and we'll make sure that I serve some coffee, maybe some refreshments for them, invite them over, and let's have them do their collaborative meeting on Thursday afternoons between 2 and 4 right here in your room. And if they want to stay right up to dinner, we can offer them dinner too. I'd have to charge them $2 or $3 for dinner, but they can stay for dinner if you have more work to get done. So what we want to do is adjust our residents' schedules so that they can do what they wanted to do, what will help them stay in their normal pattern, so that when they are done with their work with us, their rehab, they can go out and do things. Or if it ends up that they're going to continue to stay with us, we want to keep them in those patterns of success. Say, yeah, you want to take another class? We can take it online. You want to have another group come in from the class that you're taking and have a meeting here? Sure, we want you to be able to do that. We want you to be successful. This is what person-centered care is all about. The other thing that person-centered care is about is having the rest of the team adjust the schedule for their care as much as we can to allow them to have the things that are important to them. For example, if somebody has somebody scheduled for occupational therapy or physical therapy, and it's right when they wanted to go to church group, and you know that they want to go to church group, then it behooves us, our responsibility is to go and let that department know, hey, can you delay this treatment or give it before or after so that they can enjoy this group, which is very important. Their spiritual growth is very important. They want to go to church. Their educational growth is very important, and they want to finish this class. Can we schedule some things around it? I have never had a department that didn't say, yeah, we're going to try. Yeah, we'll do it. Gee, we didn't do it as well this week because we didn't give them the medication early enough, but now we're going to give it to them at this time, and they'll be able to be comfortable and go to that group, or be able to be comfortable and have their visitors come in. So it's a matter of adjustments whenever we can make them so that we can give that person-centered care. And it's as simple as this. I know sometimes it's a little bit irritating for our CNAs, although our CNAs are extremely well and do try to accommodate as much as possible, but they have a lot of people get up and get dressed. And if we know of a person who doesn't want to eat their breakfast in their day clothes, in their clothes that they want to be neat in, and they want to have breakfast in their pajamas and a bathrobe that covers them adequately, we should let them do that. That's part of person-centered care. So don't put their clothes on. Let them stay in their pajamas, but have a bathrobe on and come down and have breakfast. If they spill on their bathrobe, we're going to wash it. If they spill on their clothes, we'd have to change them. And if that's their fear of spilling on their clothes because their dexterity of eating isn't that good anymore, then let's have them stay in their bathtub, in their bathrobe, and then get them dressed and have them come down. Because now they're ready for the day. They're groomed and they're ready for the day. That's so important. And a lot of self-grooming is extremely important also, because if you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you do good. That's the way we all are. It's part of our self-esteem. It's a part of who we are.